All right, and we're live, and I'm here with my frequent sidekick, well, not artistic layman, my less frequent but still frequent sidekick, Matt Forney.
Hey everyone.
And so we got a few things to talk about. Obviously, there's the Mueller investigation falling flat on its face, that sort of thing. But first, I want to talk about the shitstorm surrounding the Unplanned movie. Unplanned, for those of you that aren't aware, it's just some anti-abortion movie. Who the hell's even making it? Well, I can't check the Twitter page because it's been banned, as we're going to talk about here in a second. Oh no, it's back. It's back up. That's interesting. Okay, well, Unplanned. Let's go to unplanned.com. Okay, so this article I'm about to read is actually kind of doesn't have a lot of real info about the companion devotional. Christian movies are so cringe. Like I really hate to say that because on one level I love watching them make a ton of money and stick it to the powers that be, but they're not movies. They're never movies. They're never a movie. Like they're always a heavy-handed message, and I personally find them very obnoxious. Sometimes I don't even really agree with the message, like Fireproof, how sickeningly full of feminism that was. But off the website, we got Unplanned is the inspiring true story of one woman's journey of transformation. All Abby Johnson ever wanted to do was help women. As one of the youngest Planned Parenthood clinic directors in the nation, she was involved in upwards of 22,000 abortions and counseled countless women about their reproductive choices. Her passion surrounding a woman's right to choose even led her to become a spokesperson for Planned Parenthood, fighting to enact legislation for the cause she so deeply believed in. Until the day she saw something that changed everything, leading Abby Johnson to join her former enemies at 40 Days for Life and become one of the most ardent pro-life speakers in America. And then on the website, we have the companion devotional. You know, I don't want to shit on these movies too much because I don't know. They're just not good. Like, I mean, as a Christian, I'm very happy that you want to spread the gospel, but as somebody who just loves movies, they're just bad. I remember back when I was writing my blog, I actually spent a very long time going through a lot of shitty Christian movies trying to find a good one. And I was hard-pressed to do so.
Well, the big problem, from an outsider's perspective, the big problem with Christian movies is like with any other type of ideological art. They're not focused on building a good product so much as they are as ticking off ideological boxes, which always makes for bad art because nobody wants this heavy-handed lecture.
I mean, I can think of even some movies from quote unquote mainstream Hollywood that have tremendous Christian themes in them that are really good. But these actual, like, what were the name of I can't remember their names, but the two brothers, they did Fireproof, they did Courageous, which was basically like Fireproof but for cops. They did Facing the Giants, that's their famous one, and they did Flywheel. I reviewed all of those on my blog except Facing the Giants years ago because I don't give a shit about football. So I'm not inclined to like a good football movie. So that was almost unfair for me to review that. So I skipped that one. I reviewed Fireproof. It was garbage. Fireproof is absolute enraging garbage. It is, not to sound like an old school, MRA fucking manosphere guy, but it is misandric fucking garbage from top to bottom.
Is that the movie about divorce?
Yeah, it's the movie with Kirk Cameron where he's like a firefighter and his wife wants a divorce, and at the end everything is his fault even though it's not.
Oh yeah,
I just summed it. Everything is his fault even though it's not. There you go. That's the movie. There was one called Courageous, which was almost like an anthology movie. It was like 4 barely connected subplots about 4 cops that just happen to work the same thing, like the same beat or whatever, and that movie literally ends with an altar call. It's so ham-fisted. Flywheel from 2003 is actually their best one that I saw, at least. it was made on an incredibly low budget. Like the production values look like a local TV commercial. But and it's the story of a used car salesman who comes to Christ and stops being a shithead. It's your sort of classic Ebenezer Scrooge-esque redemption arc, minus the ghosts. But it's actually a decent flick. I actually found myself, despite the much, much poorer production values, enjoying that one more. But I'm sorry, when your movie comes with a devotional, it's probably going to be shit. Now, all that said, this movie has caught a lot of crap. In fact, just recently, this article on liveaction.org says Twitter inexplicably suspends unplanned movie account on opening weekend. Yeah, I think I know what the explanation was. The Twitter page for the new movie about a former Planned Parenthood director's pro-life conversion, Unplanned, was inexplicably suspended sometime on Saturday morning, the opening weekend for the film. The page was not visible with an account suspended notice for an unspecified amount of time. I guess it's back now, I can see. When asked by Live Action about the reasons for the suspension, a member of the movie's cast replied, "No response. Team has put in a request and appeal." The Unplanned movie was officially released in theaters yesterday, and the movie currently has a 91 audience positivity rating on Rotten Tomatoes out of 645 reviews at the time of this posting. It's got a 50% review from the critics, but as we've covered numerous times on this channel, that's hardly the first time where the critics and the audience disagree on a movie. The film has faced significant challenges due to the fact that it's a film about abortion, not just any abortion film, but a pro-life film, which shows one woman's personal account of the reality of abortion. The message is, of course, an unpopular viewpoint with Hollywood in general. The Blaze reported this week that the film was denied rights to various music from Disney, Sony, Universal, and Roundhill Music. In addition, TV networks are refusing to run ads for the movie, and the film is the first release from Pure Flix to receive an R rating. Boy, that had to stick in their craw so bad. No lie. These do-gooder evangelicals putting this movie out, I know getting an R rating had to stick in their craw so bad. Because
what the hell do they get an R rating for? Does it have?
I assume for graphic depictions of abortion.
Oh.
I mean, which is kind of ironic. I mean, it's in a way that sort of proves the movie's point. But you just know the do-gooder evangelicals that got that R rating. It had to piss them off so bad. Within hours, thankfully, the Unplanned movie account was restored, with the group tweeting the message below. "Thank you for everyone for your support in letting Jack and Twitter know when our Unplanned account was recently suspended without cause." Yeah, without cause. We all know what the cause was. Let's be real. It's Twitter, okay? I'm frankly amazed they got their account back. But Twitter itself also has a track record of censoring pro-life messages. No, right-wing messages. Twitter has barred Live Action from advertising on the platform for years, even insisting that in order to be allowed to advertise their pro-life content, such as ultrasound photos, would need to be removed, not just from Live Action's Twitter account, but from Live Action's own website. Ooh, that's ridiculous. But Twitter has allowed Planned Parenthood and other pro-abortion groups to run their ads on their platform. Facebook is no different, also routinely censoring pro-life message groups. I really hope that these social media giants crack down on the pro-life guys more, because maybe you can get some more normie boomer conservatives, some more normie evangelical conservatives to actually take notice of the issue of online censorship and maybe fight it, instead of being a bunch of cucks like John Stone Street saying, well, Twitter's a private company. They can do what they want. Because they're not hurting me, so fuck it. I don't care. Yeah, I really hope that these tech giants go after the pro-life movement now. Because for better or worse, so many of these conservatives, I swear abortion is the only thing you can get them riled up about. This does not change the fact that social media giants are becoming increasingly hostile to the message of pro-life groups. This deserves an explanation. I love how they're acting like, oh, it deserves an explanation. The inexplicable, do you not know? Are you confused about this? So I didn't see this movie because it looks like ass. Just as a movie, okay. Obviously, as I've said before, I'm not the most pro-life person you're ever going to meet. I definitely lean in that direction, much more so in recent years because of the absolute ghoulishness of the other side. But it's never been an issue I get particularly worked up about. It's never been an issue I particularly care a great deal about. And even if it was, this just doesn't look like a good movie. I guarantee you this is just not a good movie. There's no way. There's no way this is a good movie.
Well, it certainly isn't going to convince me to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess you could say, oh, I want to buy the ticket just for spite. Like, okay, I get you. That's... Passion was a good movie. Like, I saw that, and, I wasn't even really a Christian at the time. I was sort of flirting with the idea of it, but I saw that, and it's just a solid flick.
Well, sorry, I put all my spike points into Yang Gang, and I don't have any left over to spare.
There's another movie that actually has really good Christian themes in it, although it's not, I guess, really a Christian movie, but it has a ton of Christian themes in it. It's a movie called Changing Lanes with Ben Affleck and Samuel L. Jackson. Fantastic movie. Never gets talked about, but yeah, it's and I never watch the reviews of Christian movies because I know it's just going to be like a bunch of snarky atheists like, LOL, God's dumb. But I mean, they're right that they're bad movies. They're right in that regard. What is the name of the guys that do the I want to see like the Kenley brothers or something, the Kennedy brothers, something like that. The Kendrick brothers, maybe. But they did like the Fireproof and all that shit, and it's all garbage. It's just all such ass. And yeah, this movie looks like crap. Dude, I got a screen share. We got to take a look at this website. This is something here. Let's make sure I've closed all my Kim Possible porn first, and then we'll go ahead and screen share. Because we can do that. We have the technology. All right, here we go into the infinite. All right, so let's take a look at this website. Okay, so it doesn't look too bad up here. You got like a trailer for it and all, which I'm not going to play because I'm sure you're going to get copyright. What is that? Probably like, it's not even a link to Fandango. It's a link to unplannedtickets.com. That's interesting. You can watch your interview on Fox and Friends. There you go. We got the story, and we got the companion devotional. It's always a good sign that a movie's good. Do your own theater buyout event. The film, we go on about the movie here. Unplanned book. All right, we got to have the tie-in novel, and then we got some young evangelical hipsters with their dead fetus shirts. Order a T-shirt pack, $19.99 donation. I hate that. I really hate when these kind of things. Oh, it's a donation. It's for your gift, for your donation, because it's all going to be tax exempt and all that shit. Like, you listen to like a sermon on the radio, and it's like, if you found this sermon fascinating, here's a book that expands on that, and that's yours for a $20 gift. So you're saying you're selling me a book for $20?
The dude on the right looks like he should be strapping a suicide vest on and blowing up a church. Seriously, he's got like a fucking he's got like one of those weird Gettysburg beards. No mustache, all beard. Weird, man. And the chick on the left, it's rather immodest pose, yanking it down to cover her crotch.
Yeah, she's whew. She doesn't look like she'd be a stranger to a Planned Parenthood, if I was being perfectly honest with you. So there you go. That's the Unplanned movie. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's all kinds of bullshit what's happening to him, but at the same time, I mean, what would you expect? You know, well, this is inexplicably happening. No, it's pretty well explained. Let's see. Somebody says, "Now that's cringy. They have good intentions, but this isn't something to make a trend." I don't know. I feel like that's the best thing you could say about most Christian movies. Is like at most like they meant well.
And a wonderful epitaph. They meant well.
So I guess the other big story is the Mueller investigation petered out, no collusion. You know, congratulations, Democrats. You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir. You know, you can be conspiratorial. You can look at it all sorts of ways. Like maybe they already neutered Trump and they're letting him peter out, or maybe just eventually, you know, they had nothing, and just at some point they had to, you know, they had to put cards on the table. You know, it now look, right now there's a ton of political momentum Trump has. And he could go in for the kill on a lot of things. He's talking a big game right now about closing the southern border, and that's great. But that's talk. I want to see a little more than talk. I would very much love it if he took this momentum and ran with it in a good direction. You know, not sucking Israel's dick, not, you know, not a million other things that aren't why he was elected. Run with this in the momentum and get the border closed. You know, he's talking a bunch of shit about, you know, the people that ran with this hoax need to be investigated, and that would be fucking fantastic. Please do. But again, talking a bunch of shit doesn't get it done. And I know he's up against incredible opposition. I get it. I know he's probably gotta watch his back, you know, gotta have somebody taste his food before he eats it. I get it. I get that this guy faces opposition, you know, the likes of which a president has never faced in or even, probably even our father's lifetime. You know. That said, though, at a certain point, I need some results. Has he accomplished a good amount of stuff? Yes. Are we better off with him than? Yes. But at a certain point, the patience is coming to an end. I'm not somebody who's throwing him under the bus. I'm not even like Forney on the gang or any shit like that. That's fucking gay. But yeah, at a certain point, dude, let's have some more bite and less bark. And now's a perfect opportunity to do that. You let them run around, have their tantrum, and now they're out of energy. They've collapsed on the floor like the little sugared up kids they were. So take this opportunity and do something with it.
He's not going to do shit. He's been co-opted. It's over. He's not even making an attempt to do shit. His entire platform has changed around back to basically Bush light. We need to bring in the legal immigrants. We need to break the backs of unions and stuff like that. Everything that ran against what he ran against in 2016. He's been co-opted. And I tell you, in 2020, Trump is going to run on basically George W. Bush's platform from 2004. It's going to be nothing but screeching about socialism, nothing but screeching about stuff that will get boomers' hackles up. It's over. Okay, I wanted to be I wanted to be optimistic. I wanted to be like, Nick Fuentes made the same point. It's like we were thinking, okay, Trump has to get all this like GOP typical stuff out of the way, and then he'll go towards on his agenda. But instead, he's gone the opposite direction. He's gone completely towards typical GOP Chamber of Commerce, right-wing ideology. And I'm not entirely opposed to some of that. Like the tax cut's a good thing, but that's not why we elected him. And I'm not saying we should all go and. Because I always look at the Yang Gang thing as, like I said, it's a combination of nihilism, exasperation of the political system, and recognition that Trump is not going to get us what we wanted, unless we apply some serious pressure to the guy. I'm far less optimistic than I was a year ago about all this stuff.
Well, I'm pretty resigned to it all. That said, though, I am willing to grant that, he's in a much better position with the Mueller investigation having shit its bed than he was before. You can definitely make the argument that there's things he can do now that he couldn't do even a week ago.
Well, yeah, but what's he spending that fucking capital on? He's fucking spending it on healthcare, not immigration, not free trade, healthcare.
Well, I'm going to fight you on that because he hasn't done anything on either one. And I want Obamacare to be gone. I want it to be gone. Was the old system particularly good? No, but Obamacare is it's the worst possible thing imaginable. Now, it's like it's socialized medicine that manages to fuck up the giving out free shit part of socialism. It's what is it? You put it once. It's fascist medicine. Oh, you can't afford this product? We'll buy it anyways. That said, though, he hasn't done anything on that. He's just talked about it a lot about it. But he's also talked about, hey, maybe we need just either yesterday or today. He said, look, another caravan's running through Mexico. Mexico needs to stop this, or I'm going to shut the border down completely until this emergency is paid. Okay, maybe he gets blocked by a judge, whatever happens. But he's making noise in that direction, just like he's making noise in the healthcare direction.
I thought they removed the individual mandate.
They did remove that part. Arjun's on here. Thanks for hopping in. But yeah, they did manage to get the individual mandate, which honestly, that's the worst part. That was the single worst part of it. I mean, I had to bounce around some jobs here in the last few years, and you're unemployed. Well, fuck you. Buy healthcare anyways. Oh, it's feasibly, impossible for even a well-off financially, self-employed man to buy healthcare. Too fucking bad. We're gonna fine you. The fact of the matter is, you get healthcare from your employer. You get it from your employer, and nothing about that change. It's almost like you said, like fascism. Like you have to buy a product. You have to be employed, or we're gonna fine you. It's the single worst aspect. So, socialized medicine, while it eventually collapses, at least it would work a little bit at first.
I was going to say, you guys kind of have the worst of both worlds, because if it was more free market, there'd be more competition across state lines. And if it was like ours, then you'd at least get it. The wait list would be super long, but you at least wouldn't go bankrupt.
The best thing I could think to happen to healthcare, and I don't know how you'd even get to this point, short of some sort of collapse and reset, is, the thing that drives up costs in healthcare is that nobody pays directly for healthcare like they do for other products. Healthcare is always bought third party. You either get it through a government program or you get it through an insurance company. So nobody ever pays directly for healthcare. And when that happens, that inevitably yanks costs up through the roof. And that's exactly what, in some ways, the health insurance system is a bad idea. In some ways, it would be better off if we could just go back to paying for healthcare like a service, and health insurance existed only for the horrifying diseases that would otherwise bankrupt you, kind of thing. Not health insurance covering you every time you go get a pill.
That's called catastrophic health insurance.
That should probably be the only kind of health insurance that exists, and everything else should be people paying for a product. But at the same time, I also recognize I don't know how you get there from here, short of some sort of massive financial reset in the entirety of our civilization. It's sort of like the debt crisis, where it's like at some point we got to just hit the reset button. There's no way to walk back to where we need to be from where we are.
I feel that way about student loans.
Yeah, the student loan bubble has to just go.
They're just going to have mass.
At some point, they're just going to have to say, look, student loans are now absolvable through bankruptcy. And that's retroactive to the past 10 years. And you know what's going to happen? A lot of kids are just going to file bankruptcy and they're going to get away with shit. But you know what else is going to happen? The banks aren't going to be handing out, $40, $50, $60,000 loans to a kid that wants to study puppetry and gender studies.
I mean, to be kind of fair to the kids, a lot of jobs, like even if it's like sweeping a floor now, require at least an undergraduate.
Oh yeah, there's that. But I mean, if everybody doesn't have access to that, all of a sudden those jobs won't require it. So it's partially the kids' fault for for getting stupid degrees. It's partially the system's fault for demanding, the McDonald's employee has a college degree, and it's partially the fault of the banks for engaging in this outright usury.
Also, because the government only offers aid largely in the form of loans instead of either putting caps on tuition or directly giving people money, it's just enabling people to make bad financial decisions.
Yeah. And just the simple act of making these look, there should be no such thing as a loan that isn't absolvable through bankruptcy. That's what bankruptcy is. All right. Well, that would make these loans too risky. Well, then maybe those loans shouldn't be made in the first place. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I would, at a certain point, the school loan bubble is going to need to be reset.
You two are starting to sound dangerously like communists. Sure, you don't want to get on the Yang Gang?
No, I don't want to get on the Yang Gang.
I mean, don't you want to pull yourself by your bootstraps? You want a bunch of whining millennials?
Sorry, just a side note. I can't believe how much you guys spend for university. Like, my tuition was about $4,500 a semester Canadian, which I guess is like $3,500 American. And some people pay more in like one semester than I paid in 4 years.
Well, yeah, that's why, the story of the boomer saying, well, I worked my way through college working at McDonald's while I lived at home. And it's like, well, good fucking for you. That ain't how it works now.
I mean, I think kids should pay something. Like, I don't like the whole free, but I actually thought it wasn't bad in Ontario when it was like $4,000 or something a semester, because that's like that pays for most of the costs, but that also doesn't like bankrupt the kids, so they're having to pay off student loans for the next 20 years.
Look, it's as simple as these loans should be absolvable through bankruptcy. And then maybe these kids would have to have their parents co-sign or something like that. But, there'd be a way out, so that you wouldn't have some kid who got a degree and now all he can do is work at Burger King because his degree sucked or the job market sucks or something. And, he's pulling, whatever. He's pulling jack shit. And then along comes the student loan people saying, well, yeah, we're going to want about 80% of your fucking pay each month.
No, but even people who get high income jobs, like who go through medical school and they're making a couple $100,000 a year, after interest, they might even then take them like decades to pay it off. It's
yeah, it's like I said, it's just got to be absolvable through bankruptcy, like any other loan is.
What else is really sleazy to me about, and this is something liberals do, is in Canada we have a point system, so a lot of our immigrants have post-secondary degrees or are wealthy, etc. So basically what they do is they make a poor country like India or China or something pay someone's post-secondary education, and then they come to Canada. So it's really sleazy because it's like about, we have to let in diversity, we have to help the third world, but in truth it's just like draining the education budgets of countries that can't afford it.
Well, it's almost like most of these liberal programs actually hurt the people they're supposed to help.
Yeah. But so sorry, you guys were talking about the Yang Gang earlier? Or
well, Forney keeps bringing it up. I think it's gay.
Okay, just because I put out a video today about it, and virtually all the comments on it are like negative.
Well, I watched the video, and like I said, I was explaining, like I said, you don't have to. Like I said, I'm probably not going to vote for Yang. Like I've said that straight up, but you have to understand that it's about, like I said, nihilism, because people are angry and they don't see any other way out. To anger at the Trump administration, anger at politics, anger at the total betrayal. We've all put a lot of. There have been people who have lost their jobs, lost their careers, lost their friends and family, been attacked, blackballed because of support for Trump. And not only is he not doing anything to protect us, he's actively going back on his promises. And then number 3, there's the general like acknowledgement that like Bechtloff complaining like, oh, Yang is for gun control, Yang is pro-abortion, Yang is for gay marriage. All those things are going to happen anyway. We're going to have gun control within our lifetimes. We're going to have things are just going to get gayer. Things are abortion's not going away. The mentality is there like if that's all going to happen anyway, we might as well get $1,000 on top of it.
But okay, so I don't get why Trump is that bad. Like maybe it's just being Canadian, but I never really I just find a lot of these people honestly just hate Israel more than they care about even their own country. Like if they had a choice between saving the US and blowing up Israel, they do that. And just because Trump said some pro-Israel stuff.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of like those autist wignats. Okay, we're discounting the wignats here because they're morons. I'm talking about people like Trump campaigned on building a border wall, restricting immigration, free trade. Okay, 2 years into his presidency, where's the wall? He's not even building it. He's not even making.
He can't because Congress blocked him.
Yeah, I mean, like
how is that his fault?
Yeah, in all fairness, look, I'm not trying to be apologetic for the guy because I am somewhat disappointed in him. Yeah. But I'm not like, oh, this fucking guy, I can't believe it. Like, no, the amount of opposition this guy has faced, not only from the Democrats, but from his own party. I mean, it's unreal.
Okay. The Democratic House blocked him building the border wall. Okay, well, who controlled the House of Representatives for the previous 2 years?
Okay, but how is that Trump's fault?
Yeah, Trump didn't control the House. Like I said, the amount of opposition he had from his own party. I mean, I'm not going to pin this entirely on Trump.
Okay, he got his tax cuts passed.
And yeah, there's also there's also all this Russia bullshit that he's had to deal with. I mean, he's had to deal with basically a literal witch hunt for the past couple of years.
At what point do we stop making excuses for him and just admit that I'm not going all the way. I hope he can pull things out, but like that hope just keeps getting more and more remote. When he's giving speeches like, "Oh, I want more immigrants coming in than ever before." Okay,
he says a lot of shit. All right, like don't take. Look, he loves to do that push-pull shit. He loves to say like, well, yeah, I want a lot of immigrants coming in, but I still want to control it, and I still want the border. Like, look.
Well, it's like with the guy seems like he spends more time whining on Twitter than actually doing shit. He's always
like, I agree with you. I'm not entirely happy with it.
The Mueller thing is a witch hunt. This is horrible. This is that. Okay, are you forgetting something, Mr. Trump? You're the president. You have the authority to clamp down on a lot of this shit. Okay. Whining about it on Twitter does not endear you to us. It makes you look like a weak, pathetic bitch.
Matt, I agree with you. All right, I've told you numerous times. I've said to the audience numerous times. Look, I am disappointed in him, but I'm not like fuck Trump. I'm just like, come on, man, you need to step it up.
Okay, right? I just say the only thing that matters, which is what Trump did, is he appointed 2 Supreme Court justices who are not going to find a hate speech clause in the Constitution.
Yeah, and there's that. I mean,
that was the only thing Trump achieves. It's going to be another decade or so before the Democrats are able to find a hate speech clause in the Constitution.
Argent, are you aware that the Democrats, there's now a growing movement on the Democrats to pack the courts? They want to add Supreme Court justices to the court, like what FDR tried to do, to counteract what Trump has done.
Do they need the Senate to vote for it, though?
They don't need to make it. There's no they just need a simple majority vote in both houses of Congress and the president to sign it.
Okay, but the Republicans control the Senate, so it's not going to happen.
How much longer are they going to control the Senate? They've got a bad map up in 2020. There are a lot of incumbents, Republican incumbents next year who could lose.
Maybe, but okay,
and if they don't lose in 2020, then 2022 is around the bend. There's any point you could see, like we already saw in 2018, 2 previously red states, the Democrats won Senate seats in both Arizona and Nevada. People have been talking about Texas blue in the next 10 years.
Yeah, but every president loses parts of the Congress his first 2 years. That's. And historically, he did pretty well compared to Obama or W or Clinton or Reagan in his first 2 years. Like every president has that problem in his first 2 years. It just happens.
I'm looking into the future. Okay, I'm looking to 2020, 2022. Are the Republicans going to be able to hold on to these places? Demographically and in general, coalitionally, doesn't look like they will be able to.
I don't know. And neither, like, dude, could you have imagined this past 10 years ago? Like, I don't know where this is all going. At this point, I don't know if we're all going to be run by if we're all going to be enslaved by a species of sentient fucking iguanas at this point.
The point
right?
I think
are crazy.
I was responding to Arjun's point. Yeah, it's good that we got two right-wing justices on the Supreme Court. But the thing is, the Democrats are already making moves to counteract that with packing the courts, and they would probably be able to get that through if they miraculously when they retake control of Congress. It's an inevitability.
I mean, all I'm saying, if Trump had not won, we would all be off the internet by now. I would imagine so. Hillary would have appointed 2 shit libs. They would have said hate speech is not free speech, and they would have kicked everybody off. I know we complain about censorship now, but if all of these companies were in China, you could only imagine how bad that would be.
Yeah, I'm not saying that.
I'm not saying I'm not disappointed with him. I'm not saying he doesn't need to step it up, but most of the anger I have for the current situation we're in is that the cucks that run the majority of the Republican Party. Trump's doing okay. Should he be doing better? Yes. He's doing okay. The biggest problem we have is the structure of the Republican Party as a whole.
Well, like I said, I don't regret supporting Trump at all. The issue is, I want to see some results, okay? And if we're not going to see some results in the GOP, then we need to, on the current course, then we need to consider some radical alternatives, okay? And you need to, and with some of the issues that Yang is bringing forward, like I said, postal breaking, Yang wants to break up Silicon Valley, tech giants, whereas Trump's response to that is you should fight online censorship by just being good, because he's a dumb fuck boomer who doesn't understand how the internet works.
In a social credit system like China.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, look, I told this story once before on here, but back in 06 and 08, back in 06, I actually voted Democrat for the first time in my life. In my still young life at that point, I voted against Rick Santorum because I thought he was a neocon shithead, and I was so mad at the Republicans for all the pointless bullshit wars and the Patriot Act and all this other stuff. I just said, fuck it, I'm voting against Santorum. And I voted, I don't even remember who the fucking guy was. All right, I voted for some fucking Democrat. And then in 06, the Democrats took control of the House and the Senate, and they took both those houses on the mandate of ending the Iraq war, which they could have easily done because the House has the purse strings. The House can put the kibosh on anything the federal government is doing. They didn't do that. They promptly tried to raise the minimum wage and pull some other Democrat bullshit. Okay, and in 08, one of the biggest mandates behind Obama was the anti-war shit. And he basically had Bush's foreign policy, only he was bad at it. I like some of the stuff Yang is saying. I'll admit that. The post office thing is nice. It would be nice to have someone break up the tech companies and all. But the fact of the matter is if Chairman Mao got his way into the presidency, he would do everything but that. He would do all the shitty stuff he wants to do and none of the stuff you like. The Democrats never fulfill the actual promises that are worth a damn from them. They never rein in the military-industrial complex. They used to pretend they were for free speech. They don't even pretend on that anymore. They never do any of the actual shit they're elected to do. Now, in all fairness, the Republicans don't do a lot of the shit they're elected to do either. But while I really, really don't trust the Republicans, I'm basically certain a Democrat is going to fuck me.
Well, they're not going to take your guns away. I mean, that's one thing. If not,
I got to read some super chats real quick. White Wolf sends $2 Canadian, says Matt, stop being a nihilist. Take some salvia, man. Great White Rabbit sends $1.99 and says you all have battered Republican syndrome. And also, this isn't a super chat, but I just saw it and I gotta read it. NC Clark says Yang is going to give us free puppies. I mean meat. Gang 2020.
I hope they try to take your guns because maybe you'll actually give a damn and do something like that. That's the other thing that I think that annoys with this boomer spurring up like, oh, gun control, horrible, whatever. Yeah, okay. Now consider something right now. The French don't have the Second Amendment. French don't have guns. Right now, the French are rioting in the streets, getting in fights with police, and have crashed and are on the verge, basically, of overthrowing the Fifth Republic. Okay,
are they?
Because I'm pretty sure. has more balls than every single gun owner in the United States. Because guess what? Americans treat their guns like fucking metal pacifiers. You keep telling, oh, dude, don't tread on me. You know, the blood of the tree of liberty has to be watered, the blood of patriots. And yet you let the government tread on you every day and you don't do anything. You just suck on your big fat metal pacifiers. Okay? So this is why I don't give a goddamn about gun control anymore. Because the same people talking about liberty and talking about fighting tyranny don't do fuck all about it. I'm not advocating some revolution. I'm not going to be some Fed poster here. But I'm just sick of gun owners like. And I'm not talking about you, Beck. I'm talking about the fucking boomer fat fucks who act like guns are so fucking on the verge of launching a revolution. Let me tell you something right now. Gun control confiscation happens. All those fucking fat-ass boomer gun owners, they get the knock on the door from the ATF. They're going to piss their pants and hand their guns right over and go right back to watching football because that's what boomers fucking do. Fuck boomers.
Yes, I agree with you about boomers, but if the gun confiscation happens, the ones that aren't going to sit down and die are going to be, frankly, the Gen X and millennials. Specifically, look, every motherfucker that went to Iraq, I guarantee you, has a basement full of fucking guns. All right? Most of the Iraq veterans and the Afghanistan veterans I've met, especially working blue collar, their base is all fucking hell. They have a basement full of guns, and it's not a fucking status symbol to make them feel like their dick isn't so small like it is with boomers. It's just they want to have some fucking guns. All right. I, for one, had a whole bunch of guns until I unfortunately lost them all in a boating accident, which was very tragic. Look, I don't think a gun confiscation shit. Maybe if they're smart about it and they try to just choke off the ammo, they might have something. But look, an actual gun confiscation, that would not go well. Yeah, the boomers are going to piss their pants and lay down and die. But okay, that's just a wonderful side effect of it all. Because yeah, most boomers are fucking cowards. All right.
Okay, here's why I don't think acceleration works because of Canada. My country is so paused. It is a extreme right position to believe we should be prosecuting returning ISIS members. Our government will not do it. There's people who we have footage of them cutting people's heads off, and they refuse to prosecute them.
The biggest problem with isolationism. Yeah, the biggest problem with accelerationism is that, there's, what's the old saying? There's a lot of ruin in a nation. Like, things can limp around in a bad state for a very long time. Okay, somehow Venezuela hasn't collapsed, and they are eating each other. I swear the fucking zombie apocalypse could happen, and somehow the government would continue to function. Like, things can be bad for a very, very long time. And not only that, but like if there was a collapse, like it would be insanely ugly. Yeah, there'd be light at the end of that tunnel, quite possibly, but that tunnel would be going straight through fucking hell.
And it would be paved with our skeletons.
Most of us. Yeah, I'm not going to act like I'm some fucking macho man that's going to survive it. Yeah, most of us, it's not going to go well.
All I know is I just want Justin Trudeau gone. That's all I want.
What I'm saying is that you should consider like I said, Yang Gang instead of the support for Andrew Yang seriously. Like I said, don't vote for him. Don't endorse everything he does, but view it as an opportunity to influence politics in a positive direction. And who knows? Maybe we could maybe bully Trump into taking some of these ideas.
Look, that'd be fantastic, and I like the idea of the Democrats moving in a more populist way along with the Republicans. Like I said, I don't hate everything about this, but I think that there's a lot of jackasses that just want their neat bucks at the end of the day. They're mad that Daddy Trump didn't instantly give them everything they want. And also, I think the Yang Gang is mostly all this meme magic from the Yang Gang is a bunch of bullshit astroturfing. I don't really buy it for a second. You've seen the leaks from the official discords and all. It's like we're gonna force some memes. And a lot of it's just a pink reprint or like a repaint over the red MAGA hats. All right. A lot of it is just it's like when the left tries, I guess it is the left trying to meme. It's when the left tries to meme and they just repurpose some meme from 2 years ago. They're like, look what I did. I made this. It's the deviant fucking Shadow the Hedgehog recolor, the DeviantArt recolors of memeing.
Medicare tried pushing that same idea that Yang Gang is AstroTurf. I don't buy it because I've never heard of any of these those discords. Okay, and neither of any of them made like the guy who created like the most popular Yang meme has had nothing to do with that. He's one of the irony bros, for God's sake. This is them claiming that this is AstroTurfed. Like it reminds me of when the left was claiming that the Tea Party was AstroTurfed. There's real like energy behind this. Okay. There's real anguish. There's real anger behind the whole Yang Gang thing. Dismissing it as AstroTurf, you do that at your own peril.
Well, look, I'm not dismissing the whole thing as AstroTurf, but I think a lot of it is, and I think a lot of it is just people. Like I said, they're mad that Trump didn't get. Like I'm sort of reminded of like. Look, the whole dissident right, it's sort of like they took the opposite path of the religious right back in the 80s. Back in the late 70s into the 80s, the religious right was a major figure in getting Reagan elected. Were they the only figure? Fuck no, but they were a major figure. And then they sat on their ass for a couple of years and thought Daddy Reagan was going to give them everything they want. And when they realized that wasn't going to happen, then they got off their ass and they affected things at the local level. And they made shit happen. And the religious right managed to be a major force throughout the 80s and the 90s into the W years. The dissident right, however, thought, okay, we did our Pepe meme magic and we got Daddy Trump elected, and then we're going to sit on our ass and Daddy Trump's going to give us everything they wanted. And when he didn't, what did they do? They had a hissy fit. They had a meltdown. I said back in, on election night in 2016, I said, look, the big question is, what do we do with this momentum? You got to get local people. You got to try and affect your local GOP. You got to get in there. You got to get your guys elected. And the dissident right, and I'm using that in the broadest sense of the term, every bit of the non-cucked right, from your Alex Jones types to your Richard Spencer types, they didn't do any of that shit. They didn't do any of it. Meanwhile, Chunk Yu-Gi-Oh, the big brown buffalo, was smart enough to be able to set up the fucking infrastructure to elect the Applebee's waitress to Congress. Now, yeah, I know he's got less against him because he's probably able to get Soros money and shit like that. But what the fuck did we see from the dissident right? We saw a bunch of goon rallies and fighting over, getting your mother-in-law's getting railed by your best friend. That's what I saw from these idiots.
So, Bechtloff, what you're saying is the free folk were right this whole time, and we need to be folk building.
Well,
if only we had to listen.
If only we'd have listened. Well, look, I mean, in a way, yeah, we did need to do something similar to that. It's just, we shouldn't have been doing it by worshiping Thor and Xena. But yes, we should have been doing something similar to that.
They were right this whole time, and
there you go. They're having the last laugh right now. But no, we needed to get involved locally. We didn't do it. All right, we didn't do it. We sat on our ass and we thought Daddy Trump was going to give us everything we wanted, and that just wasn't the case. Whatever his intentions are, you also have to face the reality that he is up against insane opposition, and the best thing we could have done would have been to put people similar to him in office. It's easy to get a House member elected. That's not the hardest thing in the world to do. The House has always had kooky, off the wall people. All right, the House is where you get your Ron Pauls and your Dennis Kuciniches that actually have a soul. It's where you get your weird fucking Applebee's waitress that fucking Chunk Yu-Gi-Oh has his hand up her ass like a puppet. It's where you get that sort of oddball shit. We didn't. Was there even an attempt? Was there even a fucking attempt from a lot of these guys? It's not even like they failed. They didn't try. It's you don't give them an F, you give them an incomplete.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, I've been railing about that for a long time.
And yeah, look, Yang's not going anywhere in the Democrat Party. I got news for you. The Justice Democrats are the future of the Democrat Party. Chunk Yu-Gi-Oh is on his way to being the most powerful man in the Democrat Party. I know it's Sank Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever. It's Chunk Yu-Gi-Oh. That's what his name is. Chunk Yu-Gi-Oh and the Young Turds. All right, that's the man who will run the Republican Party. That's the future, not the Republican, the Democrat Party. That is the future of the Democrat Party. All right, you want a vision of the future? Imagine Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez shaking her socialist milkers in your face for all of eternity. There you go. There's the future. That's the bleak. True, but there's the future.
You know what's funny? I actually used to be a fan of the Young Turks like a decade ago.
I remember back in the Bush years, I didn't hate them.
They used to be a lot more kind of populist back in the day.
A lot of the Democrats were like what the hell was the guy that used to be on Keith Olbermann? He used to be fucking tolerable during the Bush years. Now, part of that was because Bush and that brand of republicanism was bullshit.
Yeah.
Was utter fucking bullshit. Like, Redeemed Arini sends $5 Canadian and says, "You still have a place in the free folk, Bechtloff, a thrall. Now come grow my crops. The warrior paladin is off to slay trannies."
But no, like, to me, one of the biggest political realignments of the last half century was during the financial crisis, when the Democrats completely cucked on it and said, we love the big banks, we love companies, we need the bailout. And then kind of the populist right in the form of the Tea Party said, no, we don't want the bailout. And you saw people like the Young Turks go from saying that, like, oh, the bankers should be executed overnight, to saying that, no, we love the big banks. We need more. We need less regulation. We need more capitalism. It was just this huge realignment. And that kind of led to Trump, I think, in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, look, there's a reason. I mean, you had right-wing people like, arrest the banksters was a bumper sticker I remember seeing all through the early Obama years, And look, there's the other thing. I don't think that Trump's going to win. I'm going to call this right now. Trump's going to win in 2020. For the simple fact that the Democrat Party in its current state, mark my words, any momentum they might have, any sort of advantage they might have, they are going to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, even if they have any natural momentum. They can't. Look, they're going to run some ridiculous bullshit. They're going to run like Elizabeth Warren or something like that. They're talking about running Biden. And just today, Biden's getting Me Too'd. Finally, by the way, on that. I mean, hasn't the creepy Uncle Joe been a meme for the longest time? Remember all the guys that replaced the girls he's groping with a freaked out anime girl or something? Like, every other picture of this man is him fucking sniffing some girl's hair. They don't have anybody they're going to run.
Well,
like, Yang isn't going anywhere.
Alive.
Yeah, Yang's not going anywhere. All right, like, the various factions of the Democrat Party that have power, I have no interest in Yang. You got your old school Clintonites who are going to run somebody like Warren. I don't know what the Justice Democrat wing is going to do. They're going to run somebody, and this isn't like, I mean, look, this isn't the Republicans. The Republicans are corrupt. But they still had fucking rules, all right? But the Democrat Party, they're just going to hand it to whoever the fuck they're going to hand it to, all right? Doesn't matter who the fuck you vote. They're just going to, the best Yang could hope for is to have a nomination stolen from him. I mean, that's the best he could hope for.
The thing is, like, if Biden even lives long enough to make it to the next election, but yeah, because you have like the oligarchs that run the Democratic Party who their only goal is just to basically get money, and they have no, they just to get money and make their friends rich, and they have no principles. And then you have the Justice Democrats who are just insane and are just hardcore ideologues. So yeah, it is a question whether or not they'll be able to get their shit together.
Yeah,
so,
look, I'd be very happy if Yang made waves in the right way throughout the nomination process. That'd be great, but he's not going anywhere. And frankly, I don't want him to go anywhere. I'll be very happy if he makes some waves in the right way. Good for him. Good for everybody. I'd love it if he got more. If nothing else, if he got more people talking about the online censorship thing, that'd be fantastic. Now, if he was off chance he was elected, would he do anything for online censorship? Fuck no. He'd put some sort of Chinese social credit policy in place. It'd be like that planet on the Orville where everybody has their fucking social media executing them every day. Like that'd be what he wants. you know, he's just blowing some smoke up your ass by talking about online censorship. But yeah, it'd be great if he made some waves in the right ways. That'd be fantastic. But that's the most you can hope for, and that's frankly the best case scenario. Even if he was elected, that would be the best case scenario. Because again, the moment he's elected, everything you liked about him is going the fuck out the window. I guarantee you. But yeah, I like the post office bank thing. I hope that picks up momentum. I like somebody talking about the online censorship. Right now, all we have is Cruz talking about it. Also, I want to point out that Matt Forney and I have been arguing on the air for several minutes, and we're still friends. That's an interesting... I just want to point that out. We've been back and forth. You notice that. Neither one of us is going to go have a sulk and join a cult.
To be just a side note, I always felt kind of bad for Cruz during the primaries, just how people called him like a cuck and like stuff like that. Cruz was like the most right-wing guy before Trump showed up.
I would have supported Cruz. I would have supported him. You know what was funny? It was, and now this might have been a staffer, who knows? But his Twitter account liked some porno tweet a while back, and the porno tweet was a dude fucking some chick while the dude's wife watched. So that became the joke afterwards. Not only is Cruz not a cuck, he's the anti-cuck. He's the polar opposite of a cuck.
Yeah, I supported Cruz, and well, I mean, I'm Canadian, so I can't vote, but I liked Cruz for a long time. I thought Trump was just kind of a massive tool. Well, he is a massive tool, but I don't know.
All right, I want to move on a little bit and talk about something a little lighter than politics. Talk about the continued implosion of the comic book industry. Because the comic book industry cannot make any money despite greater interest in superheroes than ever before.
Despite 50% of all movies being made by like Marvel.
Yeah, there literally hasn't been this much general population interest in superheroes since probably World War II. And comics cannot, like, a comic book is lucky to sell 100,000 copies anymore. And that's at Marvel and DC. But interestingly enough, we have a comic book company called IDW. Now, IDW is about ready to go fucking tits up. And it's actually looking to have someone buy it right now. Now, the interesting thing about IDW is IDW doesn't really own anything. Maybe there's something in their catalog they actually own, but I don't even think so. What IDW makes its money at is creator-owned and licensed comics, which isn't a bad business model. Dark Horse has been very successful with that for decades. And they own the rights to some big name shit. They have the rights to make Star Trek comics based on stuff like Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, all the Hasbro stuff like Transformers, G.I. Joe, My Little Pony, Mask, Micronauts, what have you. And a bunch of other shit. Just a bunch of other shit. And they've done some good stuff. They've done some good Trek comics here in the last few years. I am a big fan of the stuff they've done with Ghostbusters over the past few years. Oh, they have Ninja Turtles too. Just tons of shit. And they should be making money hand over foot, but they're not. And there's a lot of articles talking about why, and they want to blame it on everything except why. They want to blame it on, oh, it's the direct market. People don't like going to comic book stores, as if they don't sell trade paperbacks at every bookstore. Oh, it's everything except why it is. The reason IDW is hemorrhaging money, despite the massive catalog of licenses it holds, is because it's all, not all, a lot of it is Pa's SJW horse shit. A good example of that is over in G.I. Joe, they killed off Snake Eyes and replaced him with a Latino woman.
What?
Over in Transformers, now Transformers recently rebooted, so maybe this won't remain true, but over in Transformers, we had transgender robots.
What?
A good example, and now I have really, really liked the Ghostbusters stuff, but one of the things that was a prominent story arc in Ghostbusters, or a prominent ongoing theme, is that at a certain point, Egon figures out how to, travel to parallel universes. And it starts with a Ninja Turtle crossover where the Ninja Turtles are like stranded in their universe and they have to help them get back. But after that, Egon both now knows that parallel universes exist and how to travel to them. So you had like a crossover with like the 80s cartoon continuity, stuff like that. And then you had a crossover with the shitty 2016 Ghostbusters continuity. Now, I didn't mind that because I don't hate them enough to hate the mere fact that they're guest starring. Plus, the writer very clearly hated them and wrote them as shitheads. But at the behest of IDW, at one point, the only ongoing Ghostbusters comic was based on the 2016 Ghostbusters. That's the kind of mismanagement we're talking about here. You have all these licenses, and in many cases, they do good stuff with it. I have a friend who's a huge Back to the Future fan. He's raved about the Back to the Future comics there. I like almost everything, the Ghostbusters comic-wise. I've heard people rave about their TMNT stuff, but time and time again, they fill it with pause, they fill it with soy, they fill it with bullshit. Okay, nobody wants to pick up a G.I. Joe comic and read about a Latinx Snake Eyes. Nobody wants to pick up a Transformers comic and find out that these robots are truly more than meets the eye. Nobody wants that. All right.
Did the Ghostbusters stuff sell really good? Well,
it sold pretty well. The part I don't know the exact numbers, but it's done pretty well. And I don't remember why, but at a certain point they just switched to doing a bunch of miniseries. But I think that had more to do with the writer being a bit burned out. Like they stopped the ongoing series and then they would just do a crossover and then like a special event miniseries and that sort of thing. But I think that had to do with the writer just being a little bit more burned out and needing some time for some more core stories. But at some point they decided, well, let's just do it. Was right after the crossover between like the regular universe and the 2016 shitty Ghostbusters. They just decided after that, let's just do an ongoing of the shitty Ghostbusters that no one wants to read. And that didn't sell well. A good example is here next month, they're doing 4 Ghostbusters one-shots, celebrate like the 35th anniversary, I think. And one is going to be set in the main comic universe. Another is going to be set in like the real Ghostbusters animated universe. Another going to be set in the Extreme Ghostbusters animated universe. And then the 4th one is the 2016 Ghostbusters, which nobody wants. So like, I saw that article and I'm like, wow, I'm really excited to pick up 3 out of these 4 one-shots. Like I said, it's good stuff for the most, when he's not forced to shoehorn in the crap. But that's just the problem at IDW. And right now, there's an article on Newsarama. They're talking about how they hired JP Morgan to help in a company review for possible sale or other alternatives to maximize stockholder value and realize the full potential of its vast library and pipeline. And look, IDW is 20 years old this year. And they have licenses out the ass. Now, part of the problem could be that they're paying too much for these licenses. That does happen sometimes. Like I know very famously in the 70s, Marvel had the rights to do a Godzilla comic that they only did for 2 years, despite the fact that it was selling really, really well, because the fact is Toho was just charging them too much for the license and it wasn't profitable, despite the fact that it was like in the top 10s of the sales charts back in the 70s when that was impressive sales. So some of this could be the fact that they didn't negotiate these licenses that well, but that's probably not the case. It's probably the fact that they just fuck them up.
It should be a license to print money in the current environment with how much, like I see, super, especially with Disney. There's
what's interesting? They actually, you would think that all the Disney stuff would be at Marvel because Marvel owns Disney, or Disney owns Marvel, I mean. But actually, that's not the case. The quote-unquote Disney comics are at IDW. Stuff like DuckTales or Uncle Scrooge comics or Darkwing Duck. There's old like Disney Afternoon one-shots that have all those old cartoons in them. There's a Mickey Mouse comic and a Donald Duck comic, all the classic Disney characters. And that's all at IDW. But they can't make any money with this shit.
Like there's a Disney store in Toronto I've been to, and like half of it is Star Wars and the other half of it is like Avengers stuff.
Yeah, not only that, but IDW has the rights to some limited Star Wars and Marvel stuff right now. Like Disney approached IDW and said, even though we have the regular Marvel comics and even though Star Wars is generally at Marvel, we want you to do a kid-friendly Star Wars book and we want you to do really kid-friendly Marvel superhero books. And they still can't make any money. And it's just because they fuck everything up.
It's because they're not willing to make products that their customer base wants.
Yes. Now, a lot of it, like I said, a lot of what they do is really good. As a Star Trek fan, I can say they did a bunch of Star Trek TNG.
Oh, I mean comics in general.
Yeah, but a lot of what they did is really good. Like the Star Trek Mirror Universe comics they did last year were really, really solid. The like I said, all their Ghostbuster stuff has been great. I've enjoyed some of their TMNT stuff has been great. They've done good stuff, but they also constantly fuck shit up. They also you know, you talk about printing money. They had the My Little Pony license all throughout the last decade when My Little Pony was printing money because of a bunch of creepy regressed fucking emotionally regressed men that were into it for some reason. But there you go. It's unreal. Now it kind of reminds me of a company back in 2003 called Dreamwave, which it was started by an artist named Pat Lee and his brother, whose name I can't remember. The Lee brothers started it, and the guy whose name I can't remember was handling the business aspect of it. And they had the licenses to stuff like Transformers, TMNT, I think G.I. Joe. I know they had like some Capcom licenses like Street Fighter and Darkstalkers and even Mega Man. They published what was, I believe, the first American Mega Man comics ever. But they only published 4 issues of it because their company went tits up in a hurry. Their company, it was like in late 2002 through 2003 into early 2004. And then they went tits up, despite the fact that they were selling like a candy-coated AIDS cure in San Francisco. Now, that was because it appears that the one brother was just embezzling money out of the company. Because you got to remember, this was in 2003 when there was a huge 80s revival happening, not just in comics, but in culture in general. Yeah. And they had the TMNT license when not only was there an 80s revival happening, but there was a new TMNT cartoon that was doing really well at the time.
I really like that cartoon, actually.
I like it a lot too, actually. I think it's interesting how it sort of splits the difference between the classic comic and the 80s cartoon. But really good stuff. I like that 2003 cartoon a great deal. But yeah, they managed to go bankrupt despite all these licenses.
Well, if they can't make money now, it's impossible for them to ever make money.
Well, like I said, that was Dreamwave, and that wasn't a case of not making money. That was a case of somebody was embezzling. With IDW
companies at the moment, like they literally can't have a better environment to sell comics. Like I can't see how.
And you know, every time you see one of these articles talking about their low sales, they want to blame it on everything but the real reason. They want to blame it on the fact that there's too much continuity. Look, if the continuity is keeping you from reading comics, the fact that there's this massive history behind it, you're probably retarded. Okay? Look, most of the things I ever got into ever had decades of history behind them. Okay? Like I got into Star Trek as a kid when it had decades of history. I got into comics in the 90s when Marvel alone had 30 decades worth of continuity. You know, I was never a Doctor Who fan, but that's a good example because Doctor Who saw its biggest popularity when there was decades of established continuity. Look, a lot of times the fact that something you're getting into has a rich and vibrant history that you can explore is actually a good thing. To most people, at least. I think it's really faggy when people whine about that. I think that's some bullshit fake geek shit. That people who don't want to actually dig into something feel that way. You know, they want to be into it for the status symbol. They don't want to actually dig into it. But I love the fact that these things had all this rich history when I got into them. I love that. So I don't think the continuity is an issue. It can be, but look, that's on the writer. Like it's very easy to make jumping on points. It's very easy to make to catch new readers up. It's easy to do that. So a lot of these geek media sites want to complain about that. That's not the issue. A lot of them want to complain about the direct market, which means comic book stores. That's not the issue. Comic book stores are fucking cool. If you're into geeky shit, you go into a comic book store, you're going to be like, wow, this is cool. Look at all the cool shit everywhere. That's not the issue. All right. A bunch of fake geeks want to whine about that shit, but that's not the issue. And even if it was, there are trade paperbacks at regular bookstores that reprint all the current shit and a bunch of old shit. There's no reason you can't just do that. The real reason that comics can't sell right now is because they are, by and large, shit. All right, they're written, but they're drawn by and written by talentless SJW hacks, and they're fucking garbage. All right, people go see an Avengers movie and they're like, "Wow, that Captain America seems cool. I'm going to go read a Captain America comic," and it's written by some paused in a neghole faggot, and it's absolute garbage.
And he's black.
Yeah, well, it's, you know what? It's not even that. It's not even that, because that alone, like, look, you go see a Captain America movie and you pick up a Captain America comic and you're like, oh, in the comic, for some reason right now, Sam Wilson is Captain America. Well, I recognize him from the movie. I wonder what's going on. But then you read it and you're like, this is Black Lives Matter, the comic book. I don't want to read this anymore. So it's not even that there's like replacement characters and shit like that currently. That isn't even the issue.
It kind of makes sense that for him to take over from Captain America for like,
yeah, that's fitting. I don't inherently have a problem with Sam Wilson having been Captain America for a while. I think they reversed that here recently, but I didn't have a problem with it in and of itself. Actually, I kind of like this costume. I like the fact that he kept the Falcon wings as part of the costume. It was sort of a cool split in the difference between the two costumes. I liked it. But that wasn't the problem. The problem is you read it and it's Black Lives Matter, the comic book. You know, same thing with Thor. You know, they had Jane Foster taking over as Thor. Now that's a little bit more questionable, but you could be like, okay, so Jane Foster has the hammer for some reason. And then you read it and it's a bunch of feminist horse shit. And it's that way across the board. Okay. Where people just pick up, and it's not just that like it's different from the movies, because most people with half a brain in their head are going to realize that it's going to be different from the movies. All right. But it's that it's crap. It's that it's crap. That's the problem.
Well,
it's full of pause and it's full of soy.
Which is also what happened, because I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and they actually nuked the entire continuity. Like, because you had Star Wars Extended Universe, and that was entirely nuked, and Disney has made it so no one can write anything that takes place in that era. And people are like, well, there's all the continuity, but basically what they had done a couple of years before they nuked it was they issued a couple reference books that had the established timeline, and that was what the canon was, and everything else is just kind of side stories. So they had more or less resolved all of the issues, but Disney ruins everything.
Look, they really do. I mean, they managed to make Star Wars unprofitable, and I didn't think that was possible. I did not think that was possible, and they did it. I mean, the Disney Star Wars movies are so bad that they literally hurt the economy. I want you to think about that for a second. There are people working at like Hasbro and other, I think Hasbro was the toy company that did the Star Wars thing, but it was the company that did the Star Wars thing who ended up after like episode 7 and 8, getting a bunch of people at that company got laid off because there were so many unsold toys for Star Wars, because they banked on Star Wars selling well, and that bet didn't pay off. So the Disney Star Wars movies are so bad that they actually hurt the economy. That's pretty impressive.
I like how Finn got demoted in the second movie because his toys sold so poorly.
That's impressive. Hell, you could argue that they were a major factor in finally killing Toys R Us. Now, Toys R Us was having problems before that, but I bet you the piles and piles of unsold Star Wars toys didn't help the matter any.
And the thing is, they don't care. They don't care if they make money or not. It's about ideology to them. Take the loss as long as possible, regardless of what.
I mean, look, you could be making money hand over foot at Marvel and DC right now, especially Marvel. You know, there's no reason that like the top Marvel books shouldn't be selling in the millions. You know, 1, 2, maybe 3 million a copy. What the amount of interest in the shit right now? Like, I bet you could get like your main Avengers book or your main Spider-Man book, you know, Amazing Spider-Man, just regular Avengers, that kind of thing. Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, you know, you could probably get those, you know, well around 1 million issues, or 1 million copies per issue, if you were actually giving the people what they want.
No, but heterosexual males are evil. We can't make stuff that appeals to them.
And by the way, that's a big reason why SJWs got into the comic book industry and attacked it. And it's the same thing they did to video games, because the superhero genre was one of the last places that guys had left.
The last implicit stand of male identity.
Kinda. I mean, look, the superhero genre at its core is about masculine virtue. That's what all the great things in the superhero genre are about. All right, you know, that's why so many characters, you can boil it down to a theme, you know, of vengeance or responsibility or you know, something along those lines. You know, it's the last implicit stand of male identity.
Yeah,
in video games. Video games were an inherently masculine thing. I mean, you look at video games and it's all, you know, it's a bunch of crime dramas. It's a bunch of Western shit. It's a bunch of war shit. Even back to the early days of video games, it's rescue the fucking princess. There's a bad guy, he stole the princess, go kick his ass. You know, it was all masculine shit, and that's why they wanted to tear it down.
And like hot women and stuff was another big aspect. But we can't have men don't want power fantasies and hot women. They want female Thor, I guess. I haven't read any. Well, I don't read comics, but how bad is female Thor, like the comics?
That was awful. Like there was literally a time where she's fighting a villain and lecturing him about like fucking feminism or some shit like that. It was fucking bad. It was really, really bad. There is one Marvel comic I read right now. Superior Spider-Man is pretty good. That's it. That's the only ongoing Marvel comic I read. And I mean, I was such a Marvel zombie back in the day. I was reading so many fucking Marvel books. Hell, most of the books I'm reading right now are from IDW, oddly enough. You know, I'm reading, I checked out the new Transformers. It's pretty interesting. I'm loving any Ghostbusters stuff they put out, except for the shitty Ghostbusters. You know, there's some TMNT stuff there that's really good. Some of the Star Trek stuff they put out is really good. There's a few DC comics I'm reading, but that's about it. Hell, probably my favorite comic right now is something called Dark Ark, which is an indie book at a company called Aftershock. And the premise is like, it's during the time of Noah's Ark, when there's like a second ark that's like captained by an evil warlock, and he has to like take all the monsters of the world and preserve them. So he's got a boat filled with all these evil mythological monsters, and he's got to like keep the peace on this boat. It's fucking awesome.
I can't tell if that sounds awesome or horrible or both.
It's really good.
Okay.
I like it a lot. I mean, it was the kind of premise where I'm like, I got to give it a shot, and like, you know, I just right away I was like, this is great. Like, it starts off with like one of the creatures is murdered, and there's like a murder mystery, and at like one point they like there's a vampire on the ship, and they corner him, and they think he's the one that did it, and he's like, I won't stand for this. And he goes, I'm gonna call my people. And they're like, what are you talking about? You're the last vampire. He goes, you're retarded. You think vampires can't just live underwater? And like the next panel is a bunch of like fucking vampires swimming up to the boat. And it's like, oh shit, man. Like, they didn't care. They were just hanging out in the bottom of the fucking ocean.
I don't know. Did you see or did you talk about Us?
I didn't see anything about it. I mean, it looks kind of bad.
It was like okay, but just on the whole topic of like diversity, etc. It was interesting because like the family in it was very like authentically black, but they were like normal people, if that makes sense. Like they weren't like social justice warriors or like thugs or anything. They're just kind of a normal-ish family. That was
so. In other words, it was a family. It was a movie about a black family. It wasn't a movie about fuck whitey.
Yes, and it was kind of surreal watching it, like for that reason.
You know, it's interesting. Jordan Peele, like a lot of people wanted to give him a lot of shit about, like he said, like I don't have any interest in casting a white man as the lead in my movie. And on one level, I don't begrudge him that. Look, man, if that's not the kind of look, if you want to tell black stories because that's where you come from, sure, fine. You know, if they're good, maybe I'll go see them. But there is, of course, the hypocrisy of that. You know, I'm not opposed to a black man being proud of being a black man. I just, you know, why is that a one-way street is the question.
Yeah, I mean, like the movie just I didn't really get any kind of racial vibe from it. It was just, yeah, it was just a black. And that, I always kind of like that because it always irritates. I don't mean, if I could go boomer here for a minute. It's nice whenever there's a character like Captain Sisko, like Ben Sisko from Star Trek, who's like a black character, but it's not like forced in there to meet a diversity requirement.
Yeah, it's just like it's just a black character, and it's not like it's written as a black character. You know, that is a part of his character, but it's not. You know, he wasn't just. It doesn't feel like, at least, he wasn't there to meet a quota.
Like it irritated me because with the new Star Trek show, all these people were saying we finally have a black captain, we finally have a black main character. And like,
well, they finally started saying we finally have a black female captain, but I specifically remember them saying both. We finally have a female captain and we finally have a black captain, like separately. And I'm like, literally both of those things already happened.
Yeah, but since Sisko was a badass, that is the reason why.
Not only that, but I mean, Star Trek had black prominent characters since the very beginning, back when that meant something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, what are you talking about? Like, but again, that just goes, it's people that have they don't know anything about this shit that they're latching onto. Nobody involved in Star Trek Discovery knows the first fucking thing about Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always how it is, man. None of these people have any love for this thing that they latched onto. They're just fucking it up. You know, there was a black comics company in the 90s called Milestone. DC ended up buying them up, but the most famous creation from that company is Static Shock, who ended up having a cartoon.
I remember the Static Shock.
I liked that cartoon.
And it was part of a shared universe where most of the characters were black. There was a character named Icon who was basically Black Superman, and all the creators that founded that company were black. Now, look, I don't begrudge that. And the original Static Shock is actually, like the comic, it's just called Static, but it's actually really good. It has this ever so slightly amateurish feel, but in a really charming indie way, almost like the original TMNT comics. But it's good stuff. You can find it in trade paperback pretty easy, and I recommend it. But anyways, like I remember Dwayne McGuffey was the guy who founded it. And I remember him lamenting the fact that I can't believe we got pigeonholed as the black company. And it's like, motherfucker, look, I don't begrudge you doing this, but you founded a company with all black creators and almost entirely black characters. Yeah, you're going to get pigeonholed as the black company. You know, sorry to tell you that. It's kind of how it works.
You know what depresses me? Remember how many more like cartoon shows they used to have in the first half of the 2000s, and now we have like nothing.
You know, we got more live action stuff based on stuff like that. I've heard Doom Patrol's really good.
Oh, it is.
I've heard really, like, I think it actually spun off of Titans, which is interesting because Titans looks like ass. But I've heard really good things about it, and the commercials I've seen for it have looked interesting too. I mean, the little trailers.
I was briefly excited, and when someone showed me a picture, I actually thought it was a parody, and I laughed really hard. I'm like, wow, that is shitty. I mean, you almost had me there for a minute, but even the paused comic industry wouldn't put. They're like, no, it's real. I'm like, fuck, because I love the title.
Well, that you gotta pin that on Warner Brothers. I mean, you can't even pin that on DC. That's Warner Brothers. Once they're making TV shows and cartoons and movies about it, you got to pin that on Warner Brothers.
I mean, but like
that's the parent company's problem right there.
Probably my favorite cartoon show of all time. And I was briefly excited, but then.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you just give people what they want, like, look, we should have a fucking all these streaming options, all these channels, all this stuff out there. You should have a golden age of entertainment right now, and they're just fucking it up. I mean, there's bright spots out there, and enjoy them when you can, but it's just amazing how insanely retarded so much of what they choose to do out there is. just decisions that no one wants. I mean, does anyone like Star Wars like in its current form? Is anyone happy with this? There's a few shills in the corporate media, you know, and a few woke motherfuckers that probably just cheer it on and don't even bother to see it. But nobody is happy with this shit. All right. Well, I think I'm going to probably wrap this up here soon because that was about all I wanted to talk about tonight. Folks, if you enjoy the show, do consider checking out the sponsor, Steve's Jerky, who I should have mentioned earlier, but I'm so bad at what I do. But do check out Steve's Jerky. It's delicious, and in my personal humble experience, it will protect you against the hexes of witches. And
Facebook.com/Steve's Jerky.
Facebook.com/Steve's Jerky. And
it costs $10 for a 5-ounce pack. Shipping is $4. Shipping for 2 or more packs is $8.
And also, it's good stuff. I am extremely picky on jerky, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I should have mentioned it sooner, but I'm retarded. And also, if you want to support the show, you can check out the PayPal, Patreon, and Amazon wish list. And those are all ways you can support the show. You can send a one-time donation of any amount via PayPal. You can become a regular supporter of any amount via Patreon, and even $1 helps. If actually, in some ways, $1 is the best kind of thing, because trust me, creators love it when their patron pool is a mile wide and an inch deep. And you can buy me some dumb shit that I love on the Amazon wish list. You know, you can buy me some of them Mega Man action figures that make me a horrible man-child. And also, you know, you can like, comment, subscribe. I know that's annoying when everybody says it, but everybody says it because it does help a channel. And
really, if you like this show, why wouldn't you subscribe? Because then you'll get more of it, and you won't have to, you know, go to the effort of.
And you know what I'm going to do? You know what I'm going to do? Since I remember, if you haven't joined the Discord, folks, you should join the Discord, because my Discord is basically my favorite thing on the internet right now. It is fantastic. People just send in all kinds of great memes, and I'm going to put a link to the Discord as soon as I can get the fucking thing to come up here, as I'm trying to stall for time. And here we go. Now I can copy the link to the Discord. So folks in the chat, why don't you go ahead and check out this link to the Discord if you're not already joined in the Discord? Because unlike some people, I let anyone into my Discord because I'm not running gay ops. So there you go. Check out the Discord. And yeah, my Discord's not a hug box. You don't have to be kissing my ass to be allowed in. And yeah, that's about all we got for tonight, folks. I want to thank you all for listening. I might do a stream tomorrow night. We'll see. But that's it for tonight. Bechtloff out.